What's up, everybody? Welcome to the channel. Today is Wednesday morning here in San Jose, California. The situation of public transport is at its crossroads. We have workers going to strike, drivers. There is no train, there is no buses for public transport. Regular people like me who don't have alternative transport are in a dilemma. This is a tough situation. The employees of VTA need an 18% raise, and VTA is offering like 9%, and they need them to get back to work. But this is day 3.
Living in a tech city without public transportation can create a multitude of challenges that affect daily lives of its residents. The capital of Silicon Valley is not an exception. The absence of a reliable transit system fosters a culture of car dependency, which can be particularly burdensome for those unable to afford a vehicle or those who cannot drive due to age or disability. Regardless of race, this reliance on personal cars not only complicates mobility for many, but also amplifies traffic congestion that affects both rich and poor classes. With more vehicles on the road, commute times lengthen, creating a cycle of frustration and stress that can affect the overall quality of life. The environmental implications are equally dire. Increased car usage leads to higher emissions, exacerbating air pollution and contributing to climate change. The financial burden associated with car ownership is another significant concern. Individuals who depend on their vehicles face a barrage of expenses: fuel, maintenance, insurance, and parking fees that can rapidly accumulate. For low-income residents, these costs can be overwhelming, forcing them to make difficult choices between transportation and other essential needs. Without public transit, the alternatives often become equally costly. Ride-sharing services, while convenient, can quickly become unaffordable, especially for those who need to travel frequently. Moreover, the lack of public transportation creates a formidable barrier for non-drivers, including older adults, people with disabilities, and low-income families. For these groups, accessing essential services such as healthcare, education, and social activities becomes a daunting task. The isolation that ensues can be profound, as the inability to travel easily restricts participation in community life, further entrenching social divides. Vulnerable populations in particular may find themselves cut off from job opportunities and critical resources, leading to a cycle of poverty and exclusion. The strain on infrastructure is another byproduct of a car-dependent city. Increased traffic results in greater wear and tear on roads, leading to higher maintenance costs for municipalities. Parking becomes a contentious issue, with limited spaces leading to frustration and additional expenses for residents. This situation is compounded by the inequities that arise. Those who can afford cars enjoy greater mobility, while those who cannot are left navigating a labyrinth of barriers that limit their economic, social, and cultural participation. Urban development suffers as well. Without public transit, cities tend to expand outward, leading to urban sprawl. This sprawl diminishes walkability, making neighborhoods less accessible and more reliant on automobiles. The lack of sustainable transportation options hampers efforts to promote environmentally friendly urban planning, leaving cities vulnerable to the adverse effects of climate change. Traffic safety is an often overlooked consequence of a car-centric culture. Increased vehicle presence raises the risk of pedestrian accidents, particularly in areas lacking adequate infrastructure for non-drivers. As more people are forced to navigate these hazardous conditions, the likelihood of injuries and fatalities increases, creating an unsafe environment for all. Law enforcement officers work longer hours dealing with fatalities, traffic control, and fights over parking, leading to physical fatigue and increased city expenditure that puts a strain on city funds and taxpayers' revenue. In a nutshell, the absence of public transportation in a city creates a ripple effect that impacts nearly every facet of life. From heightened dependency on cars and escalating costs to social isolation and limited access to essential services, the challenges are formidable. As cities continue to grow and evolve, addressing these issues becomes imperative to foster inclusion and ensure that all residents, regardless of their mobility options or race, can thrive within their communities. The need for comprehensive transport solutions is clear. Without them, the cycle of dependency, isolation, and inequity will only deepen, leaving many residents stranded in a landscape that prioritizes cars over people. Even electric cars and self-drive cars cannot solve the dynamics of public transport in San Jose, California. There is an African proverb that my grandpa Joseph used to tell me while growing up in Uganda. When the elephants fight, the grass that suffers being trumped over. Hence, when there is a public transport strike like VTA, it's the residents that suffer and feel the impact. Let me give you a few options. 1. Ride sharing for longer distances. Carpools, cabs, taxis, Uber, Lyft, but in the long run can be expensive. 2. Riding scooter and bicycles, which can be affected by the weather. 3. Walking short distances. 4. Autonomous taxi and self-driving rides, or subsidized local transport services by government and charity programs.